Hey, welcome to New Victory Gardening. I'm tired today. I worked a full day and I am tired. But anyway, gardening's got to go on. And so hopefully you get it to where you don't have to do that much work and it actually can be therapeutic. You get up and move around a little bit. Anyway, let's get this pot garden set up. I was talking about how you can garden a lot of different ways, and one of those ways is just to get you a nice cheap pot, either at a secondhand store or on sale, and some potting soil, and throw a plant into that, and there you go. You started. That plant will produce for you, and you producing some good food that you can rely on from time to time, right? And so, excuse that plane. It's a windy day. Plane shouldn't be flying. But anyway, so I'm gonna set up some pots. I got it kind of laid out. You know, I like to set pots up in areas that get enough sun but not too much, because you're always worried about kind of regulating soil moisture. And so if you put them out in full sun, sometimes you have to water them more because they'll dry out, especially when it's hot, like if you live in some of the hotter climates. But if you live in some of the cooler climates, you can go ahead and put them probably out in the sun and it doesn't get super hot. But anyway, I picked a special spot that gets just the right amount, and let's go set it up. So I got some potting soil, just the cheap Home Depot stuff. I have an assortment of pots here. This old box, actually my dad built this for me. It was so nice, but it's been around 5+ years and grown in intensely. Those are chives, just a hardy good plant, and now it's time to get a new box. So I'm gonna take this out here pretty soon. And so there's a couple things that I need, and the pots 1, the potting soil 2, and a spot out in the yard. Walk out on the edge here, set out some bricks because you want to get your pots up off the ground if possible, especially if you have any pets. You can get your pots up. It's less likely that your pets will mess with it. And so for me, I like to put it maybe 3 feet up, but a good way to do it is just to have a few cinder blocks, and then you can set some boards or 2x4s or something on it and set pots on that. And that's a real simple way. Even if it's on a patio, like a patio in an apartment or a very small backyard, you can always start with that good old tried and true, you know, concrete brick with a few 2x4s set up. And you know, one of those, so 3 bricks and 3 2x4s, 2x4x8s will go a long way in a pot garden, and it's a great way to get started. So let me get the boards that I'm going to use for this. Let me see if I can find them. So what I ended up finding here are some old fence boards. I have an assortment of what I call outdoor boards. What works best for this would be maybe redwood or cedar, you know, a wood that is tolerant of getting wet and also tends to repel insects. That would be ideal, right? So redwood 2x4x8 or redwood fence boards, which are usually a little bit cheaper. And I just was trying to get them mostly level, as you can see. Little trial and error there, but I think I got them level. And you know, fence boards may not be the thickest or most expensive boards, but they're still sturdy. So there we go. There's the setup. Mostly level. You can level by eye. Boards on top of concrete blocks. and let's test them. See, pretty sturdy. You can stand on them. If I can stand on them, you can put all the pot you want and should be okay. And also a good thing is that these boards can get wet and it's not a big deal at all. The center blocks can get wet. It gets it up off the ground a little bit. And so let's go on to the next step. Let's bring some pots out here and set them out. So I had an assortment of pots from over 5 years of time, and some had been painted for decoration and some were on sale and I had picked up, and others were given to me by people when they were moving. And so it really doesn't matter if it's something that can hold soil, it'll work. You could search 5-gallon bucket gardens. Some people build, out of wood frames to hold 5-gallon buckets, and they garden out of 5-gallon buckets. You can garden out of a cooler. I had an old wheelbarrow, not this blue wheelbarrow, but another one that was old, and you can fill that up with potting soil and grow salad greens or something out of it just right on the ground. The only consideration is that you do want to have a pot that drains, and so you usually want to have some holes or put some holes in the bottom of the pot so that water drains. It doesn't have to drain super fast, but it does need to drain out so that you can kind of have a way of regulating the soil moisture. And you see I'm just kind of moving soil around because I don't want to press the soil down very much. I just kind of want to spread it out and leave about a lip of an inch or a little bit more than an inch, because if you're in a rush, if you fill your pots up to the very top with soil, and you have to stay and water them because the water will run off the top of the pot, right? But if you leave a lip of at least an inch or a little bit more, you can actually fill your pot up with water, and that water will percolate down, water the pot, and then the excess will go out the bottom or whatever holes you have, and it'll save you some time if you're in a rush a time or two and you still need to water. And so I needed to get one more pot, and so I thought I might get something. Say you went out and bought some plants and you had the extra pots that you get from the nursery, you can save those. This is one for a tree I bought, probably more than 5 years ago. I just kind of kept around and used for various things, and lo and behold, it turns out to be a good candidate for the pot garden. May not be the prettiest pot, but it holds soil and it'll drain, and so for our purposes, it works beautifully. Alright, now we have our setup. Pots got soil in. I did not firm them down. I have a little calcium fertilizer. I have what's left of our transplants. I thought we would try some tomatoes, and we'd also try salad greens. Not salad greens, I'm sorry. We're doing brassica greens. So it's kale, it's collards, and I think that's it actually. So the planting process, it could go pretty quickly, and it doesn't need much speaking. You just, stab a hole and throw a little fertilizer in and put your plant in, and then gently cover it with potting soil and press it down gently. I'm saying if you were to use maybe 5 to 10 pounds of weight to firm them in, just a light amount, just to firm the roots of the plant in. So you'll see me doing that, moving out a little hole, in goes some calcium fertilizer, and then in goes our plants. And I just do that over and over for each planting. Little soil on top, and firm them in gently. You really want them to firm themselves in from watering, like from settling from the water going in, so you don't have to push down real hard. And then remember to try to maintain some kind of lip. Potting soil was expensive this year, and so I bought the minimum that I could get to do this job, and so you just have to be thoughtful of that as well. The goal is to get a second source or a supplementary source of food without spending too much money to do it, right? And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here. You can spend about $25 on potting soil, and maybe 10 or 15 on seeds, and sprout those seeds and plant them in these pots. And if you take care of them, they'll provide you with a substitute meal once a week, twice a week, maybe 3 times, depending on how many pots you have and what you plant in them, all summer long. And so that usually pays itself back, and you don't have to worry about what your upfront cost was. But pots are a little different than growing in the ground. Most potting soils have fertilizer already in them, but what I found just over time in planting things is that it helps to have a little supplemental fertilizer as well. So if you wanted to do that, it'll boost your plants and maybe they'll produce a little bit longer. But really, it's that simple. I planted that last tomato in with 2 what I call pot mates or pot friends. When you plant a couple different plants in the same pot and they all grow together, that's a way of doing things too. You don't always have to plant the same thing. So we'll see how they do, over the course of the summer. Like I said earlier, this area gets sun, but the hot afternoon sun it does not get. So it gets the day sun, the morning sun, and the midday to early afternoon sun. But that late afternoon into evening, when it's really hot, this area will have some shade from the trees that are around. So I'm hoping that will be a good place for these plants to grow in this style, in potting soil. And since potting soil is not a soil per se, it's a medium that plants can grow in, you just have to be more thoughtful about water. And since it's up out of the ground, you have to be more thoughtful about your soil moisture. And so what I found just where I am, watering potting soil is better done more frequently. So whereas you can flood and water clay soil for an hour and then leave it for the rest of the day or 2 or 3 days, with pots it's better to use a lot less water and to water them 2 or 3 times a day. And that'll help the soil keep an even soil moisture. That's the key. Anyway, here it is. Simple as that. We'll see how it goes. I challenge you to get started, Please like and subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care, everybody. God bless.